Welcome, baseball family. This week we have Gold Glove finalists, the Culture Club Hall of Fame ballot, and checking in on the League Championship Series.
9 Plus Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together.
Welcome, baseball family, to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast. I am Brad, and I have my co-pilot on my left side here. Brig, how are you this evening, Brig?
I am razzle and dazzle.
Razzled and dazzled. Excellent. Well, I'm very excited. There's a lot to talk about this week. It's been pretty slow as far as news goes, but there was quite a bit that came down over the last week. We wanted to save it for tonight, and so we'll get to that after we talk about sports betting, because sports betting has rapidly risen in popularity, and we want to connect you with an opportunity to get started or get ahead. Having multiple sportsbook accounts is the simplest way to maximize your profits, and there has never been a better time to sign up than now. When you visit our page, signupexpert.com/baseball, you'll be connected to all the sportsbooks in your region and in your state, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits, because they're all just a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
All of these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users, and when you register through the Baseball Together link, you will automatically receive the top offer at each one. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure that you can always get the best available odds for your picks, which is key to successful sports betting. If you want to take advantage of these benefits and support the show, you can sign up for your next sportsbook at signupexpert.com/baseball. As always, there's a link down in the description, just like there's always money in the banana stand.
Yeah, every time.
Every time, Brig. It's always there.
That's right.
All right. Let's start with this. Let's start with Gold Glove Awards, because the finalists have been announced.
Yes.
There were some snubs. There were some surprises.
Yeah.
But before we do that, Brig is going to tell us a little bit about what it takes to become a Gold Glove finalist.
So Gold Glove Awards are defensive superiority awards. It's the easiest way to think about it, right? And it is sponsored by Rawlings and endorsed by Major League Baseball. It's a partnership between the two organizations. And what happens is Rawlings actually takes the glove of the ball player and they dip it or spray it in gold, right? In gold paint.
Mhm.
And then they mount it on
like a plaque
block of
or like
wood, kind of like
yeah.
a plaque. Yeah. And then it goes on it. It's a shelf piece is what it is from that year.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's a great tradition. It's gone back a really long time. But
One thing that is funny about it, though, is that they talk about on Dan Patrick about how you would think that it would be like something a little more solid, but he's like, it doesn't weigh anything. It's just like a piece of wood with the glove, and it's like you could go down, you could make your own gold glove by going down to Home Depot and getting some spray paint and spraying your glove. Then you got a gold glove, just like they have. It's fun. It is definitely a symbolic piece that obviously means a whole lot, because then you get the gold glove patch, the Rawlings gold patch on your glove for the rest of your career, or the next year, something like that. Anyway, you get that patch on your glove the next year at the very least, that shows that you're a gold glove winner. But yeah, it is funny that the award itself is, I don't want to say cheap, but relatively speaking, compared to what some like the Silver Sluggers, what they get, it's a little bit different. There's not quite as much that goes into it. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
I agree. No, it's okay. It began in 1957, so that's when Rawlings created the Gold Glove Award, and that they use it to commemorate the best fielding. And they break it down by each position, and they break that down by each league. So there will be an American League first base winner, and there will be a National League first base winner, and that's how it kind of goes this year. And pretty typically, there are 3 finalists in each category, and we're going to go into all of that. But we're going to start by explaining who gets voted or how they get eligible and things like that. So let's start with pitchers. All pitchers, in order to earn a chance at winning the Gold Glove Award, all pitchers must have pitched in at least 138 innings by his team's 138th game. So that's kind of easy to remember. 138 innings by the 138th game. That's for pitchers. if you're a catcher, you must have played in at least half of the team's games by his team's 138th game. So you have to have played in 69 games minimum, and that puts you before the team's 138th game.
I say specifically before the 138th game. Like, you can't just play in 69 games for the entire season. It has to be by 138.
Right. Yes, exactly. So infielders and outfielders break down differently. They must have played in the field for at least 698 total innings through the team's 138th game.
Oh, real quick,
609
Brig, 138, game 138 this year was the first full week in September.
Oh, nice.
Just for
That's good to know.
a point of
Thank
reference.
You. So just a reminder, infielders and outfielders must have played 698 innings total through the team's 138th game. This equates, and I'm reading directly from Rawlings right now, this equates to playing in the field for approximately 7.5 innings per game in approximately 67% of the team's games by the time you reach 138. That they argue that this ensures that only full-time players are considered. And that's one of the standout details, and we'll get into some more of this in a minute, but that's one of the standout details is that you have to be a consistent player and then a consistent performer defensively in order to even qualify for selection.
Okay, so that's interesting. It's interesting that they break it down that way, because 698 total innings is only 56% of the possible 1,242.
Right.
So you could miss almost half the season and actually still qualify for it. So
Right.
Guys who come in a little late and things like that can still qualify, or somebody who gets even called up, right?
Exactly.
So say that your right fielder replaces your starting right fielder in May or even June, I think, and plays every day, is outstanding on defense, qualifies for that award.
That's a good point. And now remember, these are minimum performance qualifications. This is just what it requires, how much field time, how much game time there is required to even qualify. Now, the final bullet I'm going to read off from Rawlings is really interesting because it says that all infielders and outfielders with at least 698 total innings played qualify at that specific position where he played the most innings. So where his manager utilized him most. Now, put a pin in that because some guys move around, and we're going to talk about utility players in just a moment. But this is just for traditional position players. We read off the pitchers and catchers, but everybody else is under that 698 window. Okay. That's the selection qualification criteria, the minimum qualification. Now, let's talk about the statistics. The statistical analysis for reaching for making it into becoming a finalist. Wow, I don't know why that was hard to say. The way they sort guys who are of minimum qualification is a SABR metric. And this accounts for 25% of the selection. So SABR uses their defensive index, which is their trademark SDI, is what they call it. That's the acronym for the SABR Defensive Index statistic. And according to SABR, it's a measure of the number of runs saved by a player's defensive performance over the course of a season compared to the average defensive player at that position. So that offers some fluctuation year to year, which some could argue muddies the water. Others could argue is, it kind of like allows you to ride the wave of the times because baseball does change and evolve and performance is always moving forward in certain ways. So I like that personally. Okay.
Real quick, Brig.
Yeah,
you're talking about SABR. So for those of you who don't know what SABR is the Society for American Baseball Research. SABR is SABR, all caps is how that is. And they're like the standard for baseball statistics and using them for measuring things like defensive efficiency and things like that. For those, like I said, anybody who doesn't know. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I'm glad you said that. They're also the group responsible for things like FWAR and these different.
Well, FWAR, I think they were the ones who originally came up with WAR. FWAR is Fangraphs and BWAR is baseball references because they each have their own formula for how they calculate WAR. But I think Saber initially came up with the WAR statistic, like the initial complicated formula to calculate that. I wish it was convoluted, a little easier to do. It is not.
No, it's not. But you're right. WAR, that is them. They're responsible for a bunch of these, more in-depth statistics. So Saber's SDI combines measures from 6 different categories, 6 different defensive data sources, and that includes factors that rate the defender's arm strength, accuracy, range, sure-handedness, like bobbling the balls and things like that, along with the number of, quote, excellent and, quote, poor fielding plays that the player makes. Again, I'm just reading right off of their thing. I don't want to mess this up. The SDI also incorporates a rating for a player's ability to turn double plays, specifically if you're a second baseman or a shortstop, fielding a bunt, which primarily will affect pitchers, catchers, third, and first baseman, and scoops of throws in the dirt for first baseman. So now you can see how we're getting real picky about who qualifies under what circumstances and which data points are required to become a finalist. It goes on. It says for catchers, blocking balls in the dirt and or stolen bases / caught stealing successes, they're also included. For pitchers, the SDI includes his ability to hold runners on base and control the running game. So that's all from Rawlings. This is their game. This is their award. The things they've decided qualify you, to become a finalist, honestly. Now, that's stats. Just to go back, that's 25% of the selection. Now, voting accounts for the other 75% of the selection. And this is where I think it's really cool because now you're getting into meritocracy from both sides. You're seeing, okay, here's the minimum threshold. And then in order to become a finalist and even be on the roster or the ballot that goes out to the people voting, you have to meet these standards. And then the final standard is the group standard. So voting is done by 30 Major League Baseball managers, one from each team, and up to 6 coaches per team. Okay. Only the manager and the 6 coaches from each team vote. That is a total of 7 votes per team. Each person has to sign the completed ballot in order for it to be considered valid. Managers and coaches are not allowed to vote for their own players, and they can only vote for players in their league. So if you're an American League manager, you can only vote for American League ball players. The National League gets the same. Voting also absolutely must be sealed, right? It has to be, it's like top secret baseball stuff. Mm-hmm. So you're not allowed to, there's no collusion is what they're saying. Nobody's allowed to see. The voting ballot, the list of eligible players who make it all the way to the voting round, if you want to think about it that way, the ballot is in alphabetical order, so it doesn't matter what team you play for. They don't sort it based on any sort of franchise affiliation. It's in alphabetical order, and it just runs down by position. Everybody who's eligible. So. Mm-hmm. The interesting, we're going to get into the Gold Glove finalists for 2023 right now, but 2022 marked an absolutely watershed moment, not only in this award, but in baseball in general, with the formal recognition of utility players. Rawlings and Major League Baseball decided that they would award a Gold Glove to utility players. This goes all the way back to, you can go back as far as you want for guys who play all over the place and who are capable of all defensive superiority so DJ LeMahieu won it in the American League last year, and he plays all over the infield except shortstop. He plays first, second, and third. And the dude's amazing. He also, except for the second half of last year and the first half of this year, is very, very capable at the plate as well. But that's not the point of Gold Gloves. But anyway, 2022 was the first year they started awarding utility.
A Gold Glove for utility player. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So DJ LeMahieu was the first one, and I'm going to get you the National League.
Let's just go into the finalists, Brig. Let's talk about the finalists. So the 2023 finalists for this year, we have in the American League, and at first base we got Nathaniel Lowe, Ryan Mountcastle, and Anthony Rizzo. Second base, Mauricio Dubon, which fascinates me that he was actually primarily at second base. I know Altuve was out, but anyway. Andres Gomez and Marcus Semien. Third base, Alex Bregman, Matt Chapman, Jose Ramirez. Shortstop, Carlos Correa, Corey Seager, Anthony Volpe. Left field, Austin Hayes, Stephen Kwan, Dalton Varsho. Fascinating that Varsho's on that list.
Correct.
Center field, Kevin Kiermaier, Luis Robert Jr., and Julio Rodriguez. And then right field, Adolis Garcia, Kyle Tucker, and Alex Verdugo. Catcher, I'll get here in just a minute, Brig. Jonah Heim, Alejandro Kirk, and Adley Rutschman. Pitchers, you got Jose Barrios, Sonny Gray. I almost read that Sony. Anyway, Sonny Gray, Pablo Lopez, and utility Mauricio Dubon. I don't know how you can be on there twice. And Zach McKinstry, and Taylor Walls. That's all your American League. Before we move on to the National League, anybody you think got snubbed there, Brig?
Where's Aaron Judge?
Did he play enough? Did he miss too much time with the toe injury?
Yeah, he might have. Yeah, you're right. The toe injury. That's a good point.
My big one, Brig, is the catcher position. Yeah, I don't know why Cal Raleigh is not on there.
Right.
While you're going through stuff earlier, I was looking, and this is the thing that's crazy. Alejandro Kirk is on there, I feel like, instead of him. And I don't think Kirk has any reason to be there. He played
that one doesn't make sense.
Almost 300 innings fewer than Cal Raleigh did at the catcher position.
Whoa.
And Raleigh threw out 26% of runners trying to steal on him, whereas Kirk only threw out 18%. Raleigh had allowed 78 stolen bases, caught 27. Kirk allowed 68 and only caught 15. And then their errors. Cal had more errors, but he's also in more, right? He played a lot more innings, but his fielding percentage, Cal's fielding percentage was .991. Kirk's was .993. I don't think that's a big enough difference, given everything else, for Kirk to be in there over Cal Raleigh. Now, do I think Cal Raleigh would have gotten it? No, because the league is going to give it to Adley Rutschman.
They are.
Right? Because he's the favorite American League catcher right now.
Yeah,
so they're going to give him the award. And the other two are just there. Jonah Heim, as I was sitting here looking at this, absolutely deserves to be in there.
100%.
100%. But he's not going to win it because it's going to go to Adley Rutschman, because it is somewhat of a popularity contest, because it
counts for voting.
Yeah. So
I'm really surprised Anthony Rizzo is on here with the 2 months of concussion play. That was not very good.
Right.
So that's a really interesting one that jumped out to me.
Yeah. And I'm surprised that Gino Suarez for the Mariners was not on there for third base. I'm not going to dig into the stats for him, but he went along. He was up there with like Nick Castellanos, whereas like guys who haven't committed an error yet, qualified guys, like he was on that list for a really long time. And at third base, that's really, really hard.
Yeah, you're right.
So
let me do the National League really quick.
Go for it.
First base, Freddie Freeman, Carlos Santana, Christian Walker. Second base, Nico Horner, Ha-Seong Kim, and Bryson Stott. Third base, Ke'Bryan Hayes, Ryan McMahon, and Austin Riley. Let's see. Shortstop, Francisco Lindor, Dansby Swanson, Ezekiel Tovar. Left field, Ian Happ, David Peralta, Eddie Rosario. Center field, Brenton Doyle, Michael Harris II, Alec Thomas. Right field, Mookie Betts, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Lane Thomas. Catcher, Patrick Bailey, Gabriel Moreno, JT Realmuto. Pitchers, Jesus Luzardo, Taijuan Walker, and Zach Wheeler. The utility, would be Mookie Betts, Tommy Edman, and Ha-Seong Kim. What do you think about like who? Let's just say it. Nolan Arenado got snubbed.
Right, because they should just name the award after him.
They really should. He went, yeah. He's won one every year since forever.
And he's been the Platinum Glover every year, forever too.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I know Brian Hayes missed some time this year, but I can't imagine he was better than Nolan Arenado. I know he's good. He's really good.
Yeah,
a lot of people are saying he's coming up and could possibly supplant Nolan Arenado as the next guy. So if it's not him, I don't know. Ryan McMahon. He plays for Rocky, so I never saw him. Right.
Right. Yeah. It's
like I don't know. I don't know how any of those guys replace him, but maybe he had a down year for once in his life.
We'd have to dig into it and see. I'm surprised that I think that the postseason has given the world a really good look at Gabby Moreno in Arizona at the catcher position, because even I was mostly like unfamiliar with how good he was. I was aware of him, but I was unfamiliar with how really good he is. So I'm glad to see him on this list, and it should wake people up a little bit.
Yeah. The other shocking one is that Nick Castellanos is not on the right field.
Yeah.
One, because he didn't commit an error. And maybe he's not there because he doesn't have the range, right? Like Mookie Betts and certainly Fernando Tatis are getting to balls that Castellanos is not going to.
Sure.
And
yeah.
as a result, they're not necessarily fielding them cleanly. They're more likely to commit an error maybe because they're getting to more balls. I guess their range factor is bigger than Castellanos, right? And so maybe that's why he never committed an error, because I don't want to say, maybe he didn't challenge those balls, those difficult balls that could have been rolled as an error, right? So I don't. It is shocking though to see a guy who didn't commit an error all season long to not be on this list.
You know what? I have to say this just because it's just because I have to say it, but I'm really glad. I'm really glad Giancarlo Stanton is not anywhere near this list. I would lose all faith in
the
so
award.
many things. Not just that would extend way beyond the Rawlings Gold Glove Award.
Yeah, you're right. And honestly, I don't think he would qualify because he spent most of his season playing DH, didn't he?
He spent most of his season whining, so
he's.
I'm just kidding. Apparently, he's a terrific person and is a really great
and a
clubhouse
fantastic
guy.
Teammate. Yeah,
yeah. And so I'm speaking in jest, but
all right.
He doesn't play left field very well.
No, he's not the best outfielder. This is the thing. He has a cannon for an arm once he gets a hold of the ball, but he does not have the range of most guys. So
100%.
Let's move on and talk about the Culture Club, Brig. The Culture Club, also known as the Contemporary Era Committee, has announced their Hall of Fame ballot. But before we get into the ballot, let's talk about who the Contemporary Era Committee is. It's a group, or as they refer to themselves, a quorum, that meets every 3 years to vote in former managers, executives, and umpires from the year 1980 to the present. This is different than the committee that meets every 3 years to vote in players from 1980 to present. And then the other committee for the classic baseball era committee, and they are everything before 1980. So 3 different committees, each one meets 3 years. That way we get a different Hall of Fame group every single year. Now, this year's Culture Club ballot includes 4 managers, 2 executives, and 2 umpires. So the list is just Cito Gaston, he's a manager. Davey Johnson is a manager. Jim Leland is a manager. Lou Piniella was a manager. Hank Peters was an executive. Bill White was an executive. Joe West, Cowboy, the umpire. And
Cowboy
Ed Montag was also an umpire. Before I ask you the next question, though, Brig, I think it's fascinating. I was looking at Lou Piniella's career, as like a manager and player and stuff like that. I had no idea that when he was with the Yankees, he was named the hitting coach as a player because he was so good at hitting.
I didn't know that either. Seriously?
For reals. That is a real thing that happened. Yeah, I saw that, and that about blew my mind. I couldn't believe that was something that had actually happened. So
That's
thought that was
crazy.
super cool, and it makes sense why his Mariner teams were so good offensively, aside
Yeah.
from having Griffey, Edgar, Buhner, those
Totally.
guys. But
Yeah.
anyway, so of that group, I don't think that there's any specific limitation as to who can get in, like how many they
I don't
can
either.
vote in. Of those 8, who do you think gets in?
I like Leland. I like Leland, but I might be a familiarity thing there because
Right.
like I've watched him. He literally managed my entire life so far. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
he
No kidding.
he retired at 68 years old in 2013, and he started the year I was born or whatever. So pretty cool. But his overall win percentage is above 500. That's super respectable.
hmm
Um, he has a World Series and he has a couple of
Yeah.
pennants. Um, I don't know. 22 years is a long time. It's respectable for sure. I think we would have to see. I would like to know more about what goes into
What they look
a
for.
minimum requirement for managers. That's the thing. I don't know.
Right.
I don't
That's
know
what
how to
makes it tough.
gauge it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And I guess
for
that's why
me,
we have the culture club.
right? Yeah. Exactly. So for me, like I have Lou Piniella getting in, but I'm obviously super biased, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but I think everything that he's done, like he took a team that was mired in mediocrity for what 15 years at that point. Finally got them
Yeah.
over the hump and into the playoffs. He has a World Series championship in 1990 and almost
Mm-hmm.
2,000 career wins. I absolutely think Lou Piniella gets in. Um, I think Gaston gets in. He's got 2 World Series championships.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Um, Joe West umpired for 43 years. That
Yeah.
blows my mind. Just
Now
blew
he
my
is the
mind.
longest he's the longest tenured umpire in Major League Baseball history, right? Like
Yeah,
he managed more games than anybody in Major League Baseball history, which
yeah.
is
Which is
bananas.
funny because it's like I'm sure that's where the attitude came from, right? A
Yeah.
big part of it was just like, no, sir, and by sir I mean son. I
Yeah.
umpired your grandfather, so
Yeah.
you go sit down.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Ah,
and so your great grandfather, in fact. So I think he gets in just out of respect for longevity.
I think so too.
And and this is the thing, like everybody has their issues. Everybody has their issues with umpires. But the fact that Nelson Cruz took his phone up to the plate with him at the All-Star game to get a picture with Joe West before he
Right.
retired, I think goes to show just how much respect the players actually have for the guy
Yeah.
and how good he was at his job for having been around for 4+ decades, right? So
Right.
I think he will get in. Um, and I don't know enough about the executives. I don't know enough about Hank Peters and who was the other guy on there? Oh, Bill White.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about those guys.
Let me say one last thing about Joe West. Joe West. So this is the part of the Hall of Fame that I really do view as a museum
Mm-hmm.
is things like this, because you can't tell the story of Major League Baseball over the last little while without he has to be there. Like he just has to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go. He set the record at 5,376 games. I don't know how many he umpired beyond that, but
He finished with 5,460.
there you go. 6 World Series crews, 3 All-Star games, 10 League Championship Series, 8 LDSs, League Division Series, and 4 wild card games. And that's incredible. That's what you can't if we're looking at the Hall of Fame as a museum, you can't tell the story of the recent baseball without talking about Joe West.
Yeah, I think you're
Especially
right.
even if it's like, oh, I hated that guy, or wow, he had the quickest hook, and he would
Mm-hmm.
toss anybody, or
Yeah,
whatever we want to say. It's still part of the narrative.
yeah, it is. You're absolutely right. All right, so I think out of that group, we agree on probably Jim Leland, Lou Piniella. I don't know. I think Lou Piniella, and I think Joe West. I think those are the guys who get in.
I agree with those.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
The Giants have gotten permission from the Padres to interview Bob Melvin for their managerial opening.
What?
Fascinating.
What?
If you're the Giants, do you give Bob Melvin, who managed the Mariners after they set the record for the most wins in the American League or in Major League Baseball history, right?
Right. Yeah.
But could not get the team back to the playoffs. Managed the A's, put together on a shoestring budget, got them to the playoffs.
Right.
Managed the Padres the last 2 years, who I'd say after the season they put together in 2022 probably overachieved, but this year grossly underachieved.
Yes.
Do you want this guy as your manager?
No.
Poor K. Why?
Parsica, I think. Hold on. Now I'm rethinking my logic. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. So he was in a clubhouse full of hot shots, especially in 2022. If he moves to San Francisco, he's not going to have a bunch of showboating hot shots, and that might be the culture he's best suited to lead. So I'm going to change my answer and say, yeah, he's probably a good guy for the job.
That's my thing is I think he is because I don't think he's good at managing egos.
There you go.
Because he got to Seattle in 2023. Okay, so Lou Piniella was the guy in 2003. Lou Piniella was still the guy in 2002. They won 90. That Mariners team in 2003 still won 93 games. Then they fell off a cliff the next year and they only won 63. And Melvin was not around after that season.
Okay.
And there were a lot of egos in that clubhouse after the 2001 season.
Yeah.
Carried over into 2002. Carried over into 2003. Couldn't manage the egos. Lasted 2 seasons. Oakland, there were like none, right? Because they couldn't afford to pay for, or not that they couldn't afford, they weren't willing to pay for egos in Oakland. Then you get to San Diego and could not manage a clubhouse full of egos, couldn't keep it in check. So I think he would do a really good job in San Francisco. Because they don't have a bunch of egos in that clubhouse yet that I can tell at least. Right? Like a couple years ago when they were really good, it seemed like they were just playing good, clean team baseball. And they've kind of gotten humbled the last 2 years. I think he could go and get them back to the playoffs.
I don't hate this for them.
And I think he would. I think he'd take it too because he's wanting to get out of San Diego.
Yeah, that leaves the question: what would San Diego do? Because that clubhouse is not going to. I don't think they'll hire Alyssa Nacken.
No. Gabe Kepler.
You think so? Just do a swap.
Yep.
Interesting. You know who we've not heard from is Mad Dog Madden.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, he could. He's kind of been off the radar for a while. Yeah,
Buck Showalter's leaving in the New York side of town, so there are open guys. There are guys available.
There are guys who could go. It'd be really interesting.
Available.
Yeah.
Okay.
And somebody who's got to manage egos is like the big thing. The big thing there is the egos. Okay. Yeah. But speaking of the Padres, they're considering moving Xander Bogaerts off of the shortstop position and putting him over on the other side of the infield at second base, which is what you do with an aging shortstop. Right, Brig?
You do.
Right. So this is something that Padres and Bogaerts had talked about when they signed him, but they weren't sure when it was going to happen. Like it's going to happen in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. We don't know. Eventually it'll happen. And he seemed to be okay with it because he signed with them. Right?
Correct. Yes.
This move comes as he finished 18th among all Major League Baseball shortstops in defensive rating. Not a position you want to be compromising defensively at.
No.
And we saw that Ha-Seong Kim has been nominated for 2 Gold Gloves this year, and he could be the one to take the shortstop position. Do you think this is a good move or a bad move, Brig, for the Padres?
Supported, 100%. 2 thumbs way up.
Yeah, they moved one guy away from shortstop, and it seems to be working out for him and for them. I think they moved another guy off, and I think it could be a really good move for them, and really improve him defensively. And if he's more comfortable on defense, he'll be better offensively, which is crazy because he was great offensively this year.
Totally. Yeah,
there was a spell where he was the only guy in a Padres uniform who could hit the ball.
That's ever.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So we talked about Gabe Kepler just a bit. We mentioned him, right? But he might not be able to go to San Diego because he could potentially be in the Red Sox front office. What? I thought this was crazy.
Go ahead, tell him.
The Red Sox interviewed him for their head of baseball ops position, which is, I believe, what they call their GM, right? Because they don't technically have a GM. They call him something else. They call him the head of baseball operations. But the thing that's crazy is that he also, this wouldn't be his first time in a front office, and this wouldn't be his first time with the Red Sox. He spent 4 years in the Dodgers front office from 2014 to 2017 as their farm director. Would that make him a farmer, Brig?
Correct. Yeah, baseball farmer.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. And he played for the Red Sox from 2003 to 2006. So he won a World Series with them in 2004. So he's got good history with them during that time.
It's true.
So my question for you, though, Brig, is it good for a guy like Kepler to be behind the scenes like this, or does he deserve more camera time? That's what I want to know. Okay. Should he be where the cameras can see him more?
Yeah,
it helps the audience apparently, right?
It helps the audience. Yeah, everybody feels that way. Everybody feels that way. Okay, is he the best guy in the dugout? I don't know. I don't think so. So far, I don't.
Yeah, that hasn't appeared to be yet.
Will a guy like him be able to handle a role that's not front and center? That's the real question for me. Will he be satisfied?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know if he would be. Maybe. I think he wouldn't have interviewed for it if he didn't think he would be okay with it, because
you're right.
He knows there are managerial positions opening up, and that there was some open. He knows there's going to be more opening up.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams need a bench coach, so
that's correct.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I did see that the Red Sox have found people to interview. They've interviewed several other people, including Cubs assistant GM Craig Breslow, the Twins GM Thad Levine, Cleveland's special assistant Neil Huntington, and then 3 internal candidates. But this is the one that was most fascinating to me, was former Marlins GM Kim Ng elected not to interview for the spot, which I thought, because she opted out of her contract with the Marlins.
Yes.
And I was like, she's going to Boston, guaranteed.
Right.
But she didn't even interview, didn't want to interview, turned it down.
Didn't want to. Maybe for the same reasons we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Could be that she wants something a little more secure.
Or maybe she has, she's got to already have an in. My thing is, either Kim has an in on some opportunity that we all don't know about yet, or she is fed up with baseball. Now, I doubt it's the latter,
right? And
I bet it's the former. But for you to give up your position and walk away without some kind of parachute, I can't see why somebody in her position would do that without one of those two things being true.
Yeah. The other thing is, I wonder if she's headed for Major League Baseball offices.
See, that would be an opportunity we don't know about. That would fit my former example, right?
Yeah.
I agree with that. That's cool. That's really cool. And I don't, just to satisfy this idea, I don't think I can see her, heading off to Nippon or KBO or any of those other.
Right. No. She's going to stick with me. If she stays in baseball, she's going to stay with Major League Baseball.
That's right. Yeah,
exactly. All right. Last thing we have before we take a quick break. Alex Rodriguez said he's bothered that the Yankees haven't retired his number.
Yes.
My big takeaway from this, Brig, is that it doesn't seem like he's gained the self-awareness that we thought he had during retirement, that he's just still the same old A-Rod.
Yeah.
Like, does somebody need to spell it out for him?
So, yeah, I don't think he would listen.
I don't know. It's just like, dude, it's because you tested positive for steroids twice and caused a bunch of problems.
Yes.
It's not just about your play on the field.
It's not. It's not. Remember that time he made it all about him during the playoffs?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
And even
man.
if that was his agent, I'm sure he had to sign off on it.
Right. Now,
So
he is one of the most, maybe even the most successful Yankees to ever wear the number 13.
yeah.
Right. The only other one I can think of is like Jim Leyritz, be the only other Yankee that wore 13.
Right. But
But
A-Rod was way better than him.
way better. And that guy was never even an all-star. So,
Yeah.
but he was a long tenured guy that wore the number, and A-Rod's way better. So, does he have a grievance? I don't know if I would say it's that intense. Does he understand the writing on the wall? No.
No, he
Are
definitely
we
does not.
waiting for somebody else to come and be given number 13 who can be great? Yeah, we tried it with Joey Gallo. That exploded in our face because there's something absolutely rotten going on there. And he left and had success elsewhere. So did everybody else. But the point is, now I'm done. I got to stop.
All right. But anyway, that's perfect.
Don't
We'll end on
retire
that.
his number. Don't
Yeah.
do it.
All right. We'll end on that. And then we'll tell you about Versus Game. We're always asking what you think about topics we bring up on the show. Now you have a quick and easy way to share your thoughts with us. We've partnered with Versus Game to bring you games where you can make money and win prizes from participating in polls, trivia, and predictions. If you're on the winning side of a poll, trivia, or get a trivia question right, or a poll, whatever, or prediction, I am trying to read, but it's not working. You can actually win real money and prizes. That's what I'm trying to get to, Brig. Money and
Yeah.
prizes. Play for free
Correct.
or buy ticket bundles to win more money and more prizes faster. You can play against other listeners and Versus Game users. So head over to btpod.onversus.com on your mobile browser to sign up and play our polls and trivia games. That's btpod.onversus.com to sign up and play Versus Game with us. We'll take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the League Championship Series.
Welcome back, baseball family. Thanks for taking a quick break with us and being here when we got back. That really means a lot to us. Let me just go ahead and say it is playoff baseball. It is very exciting, and we're here to recap what has gone on since we spoke on Thursday. So the ALCS is where we're going to begin. The Rangers are playing the Astros. For those of you who have not come out of the closet, that's a Benchwarmers reference. Go watch it. Astros lead the series 3-2. The home team has not won a game yet in the series. That's crazy.
It is crazy, especially since the last time that this happened, off the top of my head, Brig, Houston ended up losing the series, and it happened to be the World Series against the Washington Nationals in 2019.
Correct.
I don't know. I can, off the top of my head, like I said, I can't remember it happening any other time. But this Houston team, granted, most of them are not the same guys, but some of them are.
Yes.
It has happened before, in the words of Lou Brown.
It has happened before. Lou Brown, let us know, baseball family. If you know who Lou Brown is, drop it in the comments. All right. Game 5 was on Friday night, and it was wild. As Brad said last week, it was wicked, wicked wild. So let's recap some of it. Adolis Garcia gave the Rangers a 4-2 lead in the 6th and was very excited about it. That's
At the very least.
He was very excited about it. He stood there and was very excited about it for a really long time.
And he should have been. He should have been, Brig.
Yeah.
That was a huge home run, probably the biggest in his career.
And it was at home.
Mm-hmm.
And that crowd went berserk, rightly so. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he took more than a half a step till it cleared the fence.
Oh, I don't know. Well, part of it was he waited. He was admiring his work, which he should.
He waited.
Because it was a bomb. It was an absolute bomb. There was no doubt about it. And I thought he earned it. Absolutely earned it, being able to slam his bat down, because we've seen it before. It's not the first time that's happened.
That's right. But so then he got up again in the 8th and was hit by a pitch from Brian Abreu, who, by the way, has... Oh, we'll tell you this. Yeah, you've got it on
we'll get there. But Garcia took exception with it.
Of course he did. And he felt it seemed intentional, the taking a ball.
I thought it seemed intentional.
I did too. I was like, yeah,
yeah.
Those are those unwritten rules.
Yeah.
If baseball family, if you don't know what the unwritten rules of baseball are, we have a video on it. You can search for it and we'll let you know what that means. Okay. Then the bench is cleared. It was very quick. If I remember right, Garcia turned around and took a beef with the catcher immediately.
He said something to Maldonado, because I think he assumed that Maldonado called for it because they kind of, for some reason, I feel like Maldonado he's kind of like, was it Brian McCann who used to talk to guys?
It was Brian McCann. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Maldonado's kind of taken that mantle on himself, that he is the guy who has to enforce the unwritten rules as a guy crosses the plate, which just like, go out and play, man. Who cares?
Yeah. Like McCann was really big on that for sure. And his whole career, but anyway, the bench cleared. Abreu was suspended for 2 games. It is under appeal and will likely, I heard, be enforced next season. I have a question for you about that.
Yeah, because the appeal is going to go through the postseason. But Abreu, Garcia, and then Dusty Baker ended up getting ejected. Dusty Baker, it was funny. When Abreu got tossed, he came out of the dugout, just an emphatic WTF.
Yeah. Yeah, we all knew what he said.
You don't have to be John Boy to read those lips. Yeah, that was there we go.
Oh man, that's awesome.
But as I was going through this though, like, Brig, I want to know if you were was Garcia wrong to be upset about, like, was he wrong to turn to Maldonado and like get things started, or should he just have gone and taken his base?
Well, I think that's 2 questions, right? So are you asking me,
should
shot?
So that I'm not gonna. That's not even a question. He's absolutely right about that. Yeah.
And then he comes back.
If pimping your shot is being wrong, I don't want to be right, Brig. But no, was he wrong to bring it up to Maldonado after he got hit by a pitch, or should he just have gone to take his base?
I think he was wrong. I think he could have handled that differently.
Certainly. Yeah. Like my thing was like, dude, it's the postseason. Take your base. They're giving you a free base.
Yeah.
In one of the most meaningful games of your career.
Totally.
If it's July, pick a fight. I don't care.
Oh, that's right.
August, September, even pick a fight. Who cares? But dude, in the postseason, you've got to have the mindset to be like, I'm getting on base in the postseason, and we're just going to go pile it on these fellas, and we're going to run them right out of our stadium.
Yeah.
Right. That's got to be the mentality. You cannot clear the benches. And then Maldonado, after the game, said he woke up the Astros. You don't want to do that.
You don't. That's the biggest problem for me. I don't like the picking a fight thing, sticking up for yourself, whatever. Like you said, there are better times to do it. But there are really, really bad times to anger your opponent and potentially light a fire. That's the real problem.
Especially a team that has that much postseason experience when you have none.
Yeah, none. Correct.
Yeah, come on now.
I agree with you. Astros got 2 on with 2 out in the 9th after this. Jose Altuve hit another clutch homer to put the Astros up 5-4. That did it. And there was a lot of dialogue around the way Jose Altuve homered and just went into his trot, came back across the plate, and was done. And I felt like that was as big a statement as pimping his shot for Garcia.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, this is the thing is like Garcia was showing emotion. I'm absolutely for that. But if a guy like Altuve just wants to treat it like another day at the office, I'm fine with that too. I don't care. Because for him, he's like, for a guy like Altuve, the job is not done until they've won their 4th game in the World Series. That's his objective. Yeah. Right. Garcia's never been here before, so he doesn't have to act like he's been there before.
It's true.
Not saying Altuve does, but I'm saying that that's his objective.
Yeah.
But no,
Game 6.
hold
Go
on. I
ahead.
have one more thing I want to
Yeah.
talk about. This is Leclerc in the ninth.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the Astros, I texted you about this too. The Astros brought in a pinch hitter to pinch hit the 9 hole. Dude's batting a buck
Mhm.
52, and Leclerc was super cute with him. Would not attack
Yeah.
him at
No.
all, and ended up walking him. And with 2 outs, like if he just come after him, game would have been over, I think. But instead,
I
he
think
was really
so.
cute, trying to paint the edges and not attacking this pinch hitter in the 9 hole, and
Yep.
ended up getting Altuve. And I knew it. As soon as he
Oh
was coming
yeah.
up, I was like, it's it, because that's what he does.
Yeah. Here's my question for you. The suspension is under appeal, and it's going to go through the postseason, like you said. But
Yeah.
why is Major League Baseball not quicker on the trigger and decision making when it comes to stuff like this? Because I would think, right, as a guy who really enjoys causality, like
Yeah.
you messed up, here's
Mhm.
the consequence. We don't get to, hold off because it's inconvenient or whatever. I think that moving the 2-game suspension forward
Really
into
getting it
this
taken care
current
of. Yeah.
situation would snub or would nip all this in the bud.
And that's the thing that I have an issue with too, is that you're not really punishing the guy if he's missing 2 games at the beginning of the season next year, right?
Not at all.
Like, make him and his team feel the effects of what happened.
I
Because
agree.
you could go out there and you could be Jordan Alvarez and just pick a fight with everybody. They're like, well, that's a 5-game suspension, but because he's appealing, it probably won't happen until next year. It's like the
Right.
Astros would have felt that effect if it was a 5-game suspension,
Oh yeah.
right? For
Sweep
sure.
it under the
And
rug though.
this is the thing too, is that like this is one thing that the NBA gets a lot of things right, and this is one of the things they get right, is that people get upset about Draymond Green wasn't in the finals, so the Cavs ended up winning. It's like, well, if Draymond Green hadn't been an idiot, he'd have been in the
Right.
finals.
Yes.
You know, if Brian Abreu hadn't gone and hit a guy, whether it's intentional or not, he'd be pitching in the World Series or in the NLC or the ALCS, whichever, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've got to make the guy feel the punishment for what he's done. You can't just be like, we'll do it next year. It's fine.
Yeah. Right.
So
Yep.
that's the problem I have with it. But right now the Rangers are up 3-1. Jonah Heim homered
With a two-run homer.
Yeah.
Baseball family, the National League Championship Series has also been crazy. It's the D-backs and the Phillies. The Phillies lead the series 3-2 right now. The D-backs won Game 4 on Friday. It was a 6-5 victory. They overcame a 5-1 deficit in order to do that. And they tied the game in the 8th with an Alec Thomas 2-run homer. And then they took the lead with Gabby Moreno singled. And then that drove in Ketel Marte. And it was the first, I think it's the third walk-off in all of Diamondbacks postseason history.
Well, so that was not the walk-off. The walk-off was Game 3. That was when Marte actually hit
Marte,
the walk-off.
you're right.
That
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
third
yeah.
walk-off. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
And then
Man,
one of
I'm
the other
losing
two was the Luis Gonzalez one.
Right.
In the World Series.
Yes.
So,
still one of my darkest days, but we're not going to talk about that.
one of my brightest.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I think I've told you this, Brig. I think I've told you this before. I will never forget where I was standing when I watched that game, because I had to run upstairs to get something from my parents' room, turn the TV on real quick so I wouldn't miss anything. And so I watched it standing with hands on the old box TV.
The box. Yeah.
Watching that go down.
Anyway, so they clawed their way back. They've been dubbed the Arizona Answerbacks, in case you haven't heard that yet. It's great. And then and it was just a really exciting game. So much fun. Saturday's Game 5 was honestly all Phillies. No questions about it. There was a Schwarbaum, and Harper stole home, and Harper hit a homer, and Brother Harper's the champion of all the world.
He is the National League champion.
He's just in charge of everything, man. Like, that dude, I heard I saw a sign that wanted Harper for governor. I was like, yeah, he probably win that too. And he's, you know what I mean?
In Pennsylvania, probably. Yeah, at least the east side of the state.
Right. He could be the mayor of Philly, though, for sure.
Yeah, certainly.
That would be awesome. So
Yeah, but Brig, I'm curious. So that play where he stole home,
Yeah,
right? He kind of plowed through Gabby Moreno,
yeah.
and he did check on him. And people, I did see something. Somebody said Harper going straight to looting the body.
He did touch where his pockets would be. Yeah.
Yeah, he was checking to make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
But
And he
and so it
signaled
was,
to the dugout very quickly. Yeah.
yeah, it was clearly unintentional. But I'm curious. Do you think he should have been out for plowing through Moreno at the plate?
Given the rule, then there's a strong case for.
Okay. I don't think so. I don't even think there's a strong case for it. I think that the umpire got it right because a lot of people are like, "Oh, he should be out. He plowed it through him. Was intentional." First off, was not intentional. Second
Right.
off, Moreno put him. Well,
The throw did. It
the
wasn't
throw
Moreno.
put Moreno in the
That's
way,
exactly right. You're right.
and that's the thing is. But the thing that's funny about that, I will never forget my first game playing travel ball. A kid threw the ball home, and the throw put me in harm's way. And Brig, I have never flown so high off the ground in my entire life and had such a hard time. Like, I didn't play football, but man, I took a football hit. It was on the
Yeah.
ground, could not breathe. We all got up. My coach comes out, gets us up to the pitcher's mound, and he looks at me. He's like, "You okay?" Yeah, I'm okay. And he looks at the shortstop. He goes, "You got to get that throw on the plate, right in front of the plate. You're gonna kill Brad."
Yeah. Ah,
I was playing a year up, so not only did I get mowed over, I got mowed over by a kid who was a pubescent kid who was 2 years older than me and 3 times my size.
yeah, right. I
So
I
I've seen that happen
still
before. It sucks, but at the same time, that
I
kid who
think
mowed me over did nothing wrong, and I don't think Harper did anything wrong here. It's just incidental contact.
yeah, you're probably right. I still think though that Harper didn't do enough to get out of the way.
I
It
don't think he
all
had
happened
time
really
to.
it all happened really fast, but I just and maybe it's just wishing he had tried to get out of the way. Maybe that's all I'm saying. I don't know. But
So
at the
this
time
is
I
one
and
of the.
maybe it's because
Sorry,
I'm
go ahead.
so worried about Gabby Moreno having already had a concussion problem, and so I'm feeling really tense about it. And
Mhm.
I think that's probably why I'm like, yeah, maybe there's something we should look at, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
because and this is the thing, this is always the argument that I make in the NFL too, when they're like, "Oh, the defender didn't do what he could to not have helmet-to-helmet contact," stuff like that. It's
Yeah,
like these
yeah,
guys are moving so fast, especially Harper with how fast he is,
yeah.
that physically, and by that I mean I should say physicsly, I don't know if that's a word,
You have to use
but
your
I
physics.
don't know. I don't know. According to the laws of physics,
Yeah, there
I
you go.
don't think he could have done anything to get out of the way.
It's
Because
very
Moreno
likely.
leaned into the running lane, his running lane so fast, like
Yeah,
last second, that I don't think
it
he could have done
was.
anything,
Yeah.
to prevent it.
Yeah,
But
I'm glad you challenged me on that because thinking back on it in this moment without all the emotion, I think you're probably right. Probably
but
got the call right.
the thing is though, does it suck? Absolutely, it sucks. You hate
It
to see a guy like
sucks.
that
No, it's
get a hit
terrible.
again after, like you said, having gotten a concussion already in the
Yeah.
last month. So
Well, just a couple of weeks. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
was that Milwaukee? It's like
that's
not that
right. Yeah,
long
it was
ago.
Milwaukee, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
that still feels like forever ago.
it does. Yes.
But the D-backs didn't score until the 7th inning of that game. That was an Alec Thomas again with a solo shot.
Yeah,
That dude's been doing everything for the D-backs. Like, hey,
he's really
did you see
killing it.
that clip of him scoring from first the other night
Totally. Dude is
where they showed it
flying.
from the base cams? Like, I would love to be able to run that fast. I was telling my friend,
Well,
it's like I bet it's so fun to run when you're that fast.
yeah, well, and his like the corners he takes when he rounded that third baseline
Uh-huh.
coming in from second to
It was
third,
tight.
it was so tight. I was
Mhm.
like, "What?" He didn't even move out of the camera frame.
Yeah,
Like
it was
he cut
crazy.
that corner like a sports car, man. I was like, "Yo."
Yeah. Well, I was like, if I was as fast as Alec Thomas, I would run to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Like legit. I wouldn't take my car anywhere. I'd run everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Then Real Muto hit a 2-run homer to put the game well out of reach for the D-backs and gave it straight to the Phillies. Final game was 6-1. or the final score rather was 6-1. Game 6. What is happening? Sorry, baseball family. Game 6 is Monday at 5 p.m. That will have been last night at 5 p.m. by the time you guys are listening to this. So there you go.
Yeah, I think we'll put up some kind of update though. I think we should put up
Oh yeah, if you follow us on Instagram, I got the scores going all the time. And
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, Briggs got that taken care of. It's interesting to me though that 6-1 feels so much more out of reach than 5-1. Like 5 runs is so much bigger than 4.
Yeah, it really is.
But no, but I don't think the D-backs are out of it though. I know that the Phillies have, supposedly the biggest home field advantage in baseball, and
I don't think that's wrong either.
I might be wrong at this very moment while somebody's listening to this on Tuesday morning because the Phillies closed it out, right? But with the D-backs, with the way that they've played, the way that they fight and scratch and claw, I don't feel like they're really out of it. So
I don't either. And if the series is over by Tuesday morning when this comes out, then I hope that that next game 6 was a nail biter, was really hard fought.
I sure hope so. Yep.
Yeah. I don't want another 10-0 game in Philly.
No way. No chance. But baseball family, thank you so much for joining us as we recap the League Championship Series and go through some of these current events. Like I said, there's a lot going on, so we kind of took our time with it. We hope that you found it informative and learned a thing or two. If you want to support the show, the easiest way to do it is over on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com and search Baseball Together, or you can also hit the link down in the description because there's always a link in the description, like we say. And we have 5 tiers of support there: $1, $5, $10, $15, and a whopping $500. Everybody gets the bullpen cut, the unedited version of the podcast. Everybody gets the a sticker as well. But go see what the perks and whatever else everybody gets. There's something specific with Brig and the $500 Legends tier. You should go check it out and see what Brig will do for you if you join that $500 a month tier.
I'll do
but
it.
Baseball family, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review. Let us know what you think about what we're doing where you can. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the like button as well because that helps the show more than you know. And we will catch you on Thursday Night Live to preview the World Series.